real estate market overview. Okay, we're going to talk about turnover and renters versus homeowners net worth. Let's start with the turnover portion. Okay, there's this article here. It's in the news. You can look it up if you want. I believe they're quoting Redfin or some other kind of data analysis here, but let's just read a little excerpt here. The rate defined as the number of homes sold divided by the total number of sellable homes hit 2.8% in the first 9 months of 2025. So pretty much this is saying that it's 28 out of every 1,000 homes are getting a new owner, which is incredibly low because apparently we're looking at the COVID pandemic buying frenzy. It was 44 out of every 1,000 homes had a turnover. So this is a crazy low thing, right? So now people are scared.
It's the lowest turnover in almost 30 years. And so pre-pandemic, it was like at 40 homes per thousand. So, instead of 2.8%, it was around 4%. The reason that's a big deal is because there's you've got this rate lock almost where it's locking a lot of people from wanting to move up and buy another property. I think
like a single family to now you're upgrading your home.
Yeah,
they don't want to do that.
Exactly. There's no real incentives because I think almost 80%, 85% of mortgages in the U.S. We'll have to verify that. It's a high percentage of mortgages in the U.S. are sub 5% mortgages.
Right there, more than 70% of Americans with a mortgage have a rate below 5%.
And we're still sitting at 6-ish, right? And so and a lot of those are in the 3 range. You've got a lot of people sitting in that 3% mortgage range, right? And so there's the delta between where you're at on a fixed mortgage, and these are also fixed mortgages. These are not adjustable rate mortgages. So I think 85 or 86% of the mortgages out there are fixed rate mortgages, which means they're not moving. And so there's no risk by sitting and waiting for this stuff to happen and waiting for that market to change a little bit to where you say, hey, listen, I'm gonna wait for those rates to come back down so that I can, because right now, if you trade up a property and you're not only trading up a property, buying a more expensive property, even if you take all your equity and put it into it, you're still putting it in another property, but you're getting double hit. You're getting hit with a higher price point and a higher interest rate. And so you're refinancing back out, and that delta, that payment delta, can be significant, way more significant than it is in a normal environment where you're saying, hey, listen, I'm going to pay more, but I'm going to be roughly close to my same interest rate percentage and everything else. And so my difference in my payment is because I'm buying a more expensive house. Your difference right now, if you went straight across the board, you're going to pay more for the same property. You could sell $1 million home, go buy $1 million home, and it's going to cost you a lot more if you sold a 3% mortgage and then got a 6% mortgage, right? So a lot of homeowners are just saying, hey, listen,
I'll wait.
So there's this rate lock, kind of that's kind of locking down the market a little bit, and it's something to watch, right? It's the housing market is one of those things that as a buyer, we're looking at saying, hey, listen, you date the rate, you buy the property. Right. Investors, so this has to do with a lot of homeowners, right? These are homeowners. They're like, as an investor, use that to your advantage. If the turnover rate is as low as it's ever been, what that does is it puts an artificial hold on inventory hitting the market, right? So you don't have as much inventory hitting the market. Builders have been building, and then they kind of slow down on building. Now they're saying, hey, listen, we're gonna pull back a little bit on building. So we've had this inventory gap really since the Great Recession back in 2010, when a lot of contractors got out of the business, like kind of the mom and pop contractors. Now the new housing market is really dominated by the major home builders, the Pulte's, the D.R. Hortons, the Lennars, all the big guys. We're back before the bust in 2008 to 10. You had a decent amount of inventory that was local home builders, the small to mid-sized home builders. A lot of them got out of it and they didn't get back into it. So we relied on these national home builders for inventory. But that supply and demand gap, it's why real estate housing prices are still really high, right? They've been holding very, very strong. And we always say everybody's like, you can't tell if it's a buyer's market or seller's market because prices haven't been coming down. Now, we could talk about prices coming down is not I think prices skyrocketing is the solution, but prices coming down is not always the solution either. Lower rates will put a lot more money into the market because there's a lot of equity sitting in homes. There's a lot of if that delta between now I'm motivated to put properties back on the market. There's more supply on the market. I can trade up. I'm going to be a buyer, but also a seller in a market. Those things are really healthy for the economy because it moves a lot of other industries and a lot of other businesses as well. When people can borrow against some of their equity at an affordable rate, it puts it into other industries, right? Not just home improvements, the toy sales, like your RVs and all that kind of stuff goes up sometimes. And so people will tap in and use that equity to go buy other stuff, investment properties, going in and tapping into the equity to go buy an investment property. And all those different things are beneficial for the economy. And I do think the rates should be coming down. I hope that they come down a little bit more than they have. I think that the Fed holding the rates where they're at doesn't make a ton of sense based on all the data they're looking at. I'm not a huge fan of how they grade and look at the data. The jobs market definitely needs a boost. And so, but everything else seems very strong. And being able to tap into a lot of that money sitting in equity in homes, I think it's at an all-time high that's ever been. I think there's $36 trillion sitting in homeowner equity right now.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of money.
Yep.
We said that and that's not even counting the $7.5 trillion of cash equivalents sitting on the sidelines. Like you have lower rates come down and more liquidity hit the market. Not only a lot of those cash equivalent type accounts will start to deploy into different assets and into different investments, but also you're allowing the retail buyers, the retail consumers, homeowners to tap into $36 trillion. Some people will be tapping into that for different things that are going to spur different areas of the economy because they can now tap into it at an affordable rate.
Okay, this is where my mind goes on this a little bit. So I'm a little tired. Remember, I'm a little tired, so stay with me. But
right.
Stay with me. So my thought process as you're going, I was thinking, I feel like a couple of weeks ago, we kind of touched on maybe the guy from Berkshire Hathaway started investing in homes. And then I feel like we recently talked about home builders are building bigger homes and not the smaller single-family homes. So in a long-term 5-10 year horizon, are these people thinking, okay, we know that the rates are going to drop to whatever, maybe below 5% again. These people will get that bit of courage. They'll now start buying our homes that we just built, and then the other single family person, the other people, they'll do the hand-me-down home. They'll go into those single family. Are they playing the long game? What I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the big national home builders are playing the long game. I do think that they're thinking, hey, listen, eventually rates are going to probably come down. And we've got inventory that the buyers are going to want. And they're really the main game in town as a percentage of new home builds is the big national builders. So the big national builders are also sitting on about 2 million lots across the U.S. And so they've got a lot of land and they've got a lot of ability to go build more pretty fast. And so they're sitting on a lot of land. Now they're not all fully entitled and everything else. That means buildable ready lots.
Okay.
They're not all there, but they've got papered or entitled lots of almost 2 million lots across the US. That's a big number that would help the supply significantly if they start to see the buyers getting back in. They don't want to sit on a whole bunch of finished home inventory. And so they're saying, hey, listen, we'll slow down based on consumer demand. But when consumer demand starts to pick up, we'll start ramping it up. And we have the ability to because we're sitting on all these lots. So that is going to be helpful. I don't know that everybody's thinking, well, the move-up buyers are going to now put a bunch of smaller homes on the market. Maybe, maybe not. A lot of those smaller homes have turned into rentals. A lot of those small homes are not changing hands. And you're talking about what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, saying back in the 70s, they were building almost 500,000 homes under 1,400 square feet a year, right? And, and now they're building 50,000 under 1,400 square feet a year. So it's a significant reduction in home builders building small homes. The issue is I don't think that a lot of those will hit the market necessarily as trade up buyers move out because many of those homes have transitioned into rentals into where people are renting those homes instead of, over the years they kept them.
They stored equity.
Or an investor bought them and they're an affordable rental for a single family home. And so you'll find that a lot of those homes that were built back then are now not necessarily changing hands a lot. They're investor owned and rentals in a lot of these areas.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, was that flushed out enough for that point? Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, so we now have renters versus homeowners net worth. We got this amazing article from CNN here. Of course, it wants to block it a little bit. Let's get out. Stand by. Here we go. So the headline is amazing. Let's just go with this. The median renter in America has a net worth of $10,400. The median homeowner's net worth is $400,000. So now I'm renting. So now I go, oh man,
you're on the wrong side of that.
I feel like I'm on the
equation.
I'm on the wrong side. So I don't understand. Are people just they're renting right now because they just think it's better, or
well, let's me and you have a conversation.
Okay.
So you read that.
Okay.
You say, I say, okay, Jake, the average, the median, the average is way more than that. The average is 10,000 net worth for a renter, and the average net worth for a homeowner is like 1.3 million.
Yeah.
And so the median makes it more like, okay, what's a more realistic delta, because the top and bottom skew that so much, especially
a
on
lot
the
of
top
outliers and stuff.
Yeah. And so, but let's just assume it's 40x.
Okay.
So why? Like, I want to know why are you not owning a home? Like this I think is a issue, in my opinion, because I'm a big believer that the average American can put themselves in a much better position financially by buying a home early. And if you're paying money for rent anyway, right? And so I realize that it's more expensive to own a home right now.
Yeah.
Right. Than rent. Yeah. And that's usually the big justification.
Okay.
But if you're saying, hey, listen,
bullet points down here.
It's you're seeing a 40x difference, and that number continues to grow. That delta continues to widen. And that's what we talk about between the haves and the have-nots. And a lot of what drives that gap is owning a home and owning a home. So you're saying, okay, rent is like an adjustable rate mortgage. It goes up every year, and it can be kind of frustrating, right? You sign these leases, and all of a sudden you get these rent increases, 3 to 5%, and you keep going up, and all of a sudden you look back 10 or 15 years from now, and you're like, shit, I wish I would have bought back then a 30-year fixed, and I would have had a lower payment. So why are you not?
Okay. All right. So I got some bullet points here. Now I'll say, all right. So one of the main reasons is if I look at someone who's in a home right now, right, a single family home, and 70% of Americans have a rate less than 5%,
right,
and they're great, they have their home. Then why am I obligated to now pay a higher price with a higher interest rate? Whereas they got it at this. So I go, let me just wait. This is gonna fall down at some point. At some point it's gonna fall down. Now I know we've talked about
why?
Dude,
why
you
is
have
it
to
gonna
be
fall?
watching.
Why do you think it's gonna fall down? Like seriously. Why does it have to fall down?
I think it's gonna fall down because
you think the fundamentals are off.
No. I think the people who are the national contractors, I guess is the right term, they know something that we don't know, as in they're deciding to build bigger homes for a reason. They're not building smaller homes for a reason. They know that at some point rates are going to go down, people are going to go up and trade into the new homes, and other smaller people like me will just go buy those single family homes. That's why they're building it. So I go, okay, I'm just going to wait till that rate drops, then I'll just go into that home. Plus my rent doesn't increase, right? So I go, I like where I live.
Okay,
I like where I live.
Your rent increases 100%.
I hasn't yet, so I'm enjoying it.
You're a fixed rent. You have a rental agreement that says you live in New York City, where they can't raise your rent.
No, dude. Well, I mean, he hasn't yet, so we'll see. Maybe he may next year.
Rents can go up.
100%, it can go up. Yes, I agree.
It hasn't, but it can.
I also think
you get a 30-year fixed.
Yeah.
It can't.
Yeah. Okay, then my next point is...
Okay, but hold on. No.
Okay.
No, I'm not letting you off the hook. You said something that was...
Okay.
You know when you get triggered by something?
Dude, we're halfway through the episode, bro.
We're halfway through.
We gotta go. We got more points. Okay.
You said why...
Yeah.
Why am I obligated to pay more of a rate, a higher price than somebody else?
Yeah. They're not doing it. Why do I got to do it now?
Bro, do you know how dumb that sounds? It's when the time you get into the market, your timing of the market. Yeah. My grandpa bought a house for $12,000.
That's crazy, dude.
I don't say, well, I'm waiting until it goes back to 12. I'm not buying a house until they go back to $12,000. I'm not doing it. Why should I have to pay more than he does?
Yeah.
You're going to, based on the time in the market. You also were 20, how old are you?
25.
25 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, you know what you're going to be saying when you're my age? You're going to look back and say, dang, I can't believe I bought that house that price.
I know.
Here's the thing. I get it. It's more expensive.
Yeah.
I get you're looking at it, but you can't look at it and say, well, I don't want to pay more interest. I don't want to pay more for a house because somebody else didn't. One of my best properties that I talk about all the time is a cherry log property. I bought that house. The guy only owned it for 8 months. He bought it for $450. Guess what I bought it from him for?
$650.
$800.
Dang, bro.
He almost doubled his money in 8 months.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who do this all the time. They look back and say, I am not. Why would I pay him $800? He just paid $450. I'll give him $600 for it. Guess what? The market value on it when I bought it was $800. And so I could just sit there and say, hey, listen, I'm not going to do that because I don't like the fact that you bought it that low. That's what you're sounding like now is saying. But here's the problem: you can't look back at markets. You look at historically saying, hey, how can I make it work right now and lock something in right now, knowing that real estate's a very stable asset.
I'm with you.
It's almost like a forced savings account. That's what that article is kind of showing is it's kind of a forced savings account that you're might be paying a little bit more into, but you're also getting the benefit of leverage, tax advantages, your note pay down on something that you're paying somebody else anyways. You're paying his house payment. That would drive me nuts. I would much rather look at it and say, hey, listen, I'd way rather not pay somebody else's stuff off. I'd rather pay my own. Even if I'm gonna jump my bills a little bit, it's kind of like a forced savings account. You want to be in America. There's when you look at the net worth of Americans, I think 90% of the stock value out there is held by 10% of the population, the U.S. population.
Dude, that's crazy.
So way heavily weighted at the top. 10% of the people own 90% of the stock market. The same, when it comes to businesses, 87 or 90% of the top 1% income earners own a business, right? And so, and then like 60% of the top 10% of net worth individuals own real estate. And that delta between, I mean, it's hard. That's a really hard argument to say, hey, listen.
I didn't even get, that was my first point, dude.
Well, keep going. Do you have a better one? You better start with your best. You better start with your best.
These probably are not my amazing points here, but they're where I'm at right now. The next point is, if anything happens, I just call some dude and he comes out and fixes it. If I need a new washing machine, he comes out. If I need a new dryer or need a new fridge, he comes out and fixes it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. If something falls on my roof, they just come out and fix it. Okay, cool. Not a problem. I love that. And the next point now, this is kind of the biggest one for me right now. And this is transparent honesty. I came from Ringgold, Georgia, bro. You could buy acreage, a pool, bedrooms, bathrooms. You can buy a lot of stuff for your money. Now I go here, I'm like, bro, what I'm buying here, what am I getting? Like, why would I be trapped into a 30-year mortgage for something like this?
Right.
Let me wait it out. I'd rather just wait because this is hard-earned money, you know? And plus, I don't like the idea of like moving around a lot. I want to own a home and like, I don't want to go.
I would think that, hey, I don't want to be tied down. I do like to move around. That's a good argument probably for saying maybe not owning. I would still buy something, rent it out, and move around. I do agree. Like there are some areas that you're like, you come from an area that you're like, man, look, I get a lot for my money out here. You come here and you don't get as much for your money, right? It's one of the more expensive areas in the country, and it is. That's difficult to look at that. However, it's also the more expensive areas in the country always have the better appreciation too. So your 5, 10, 15-year time horizon, you're going to have a much bigger gap on that equity you're going to have. Like your average homeowner equity in Utah is probably going to be significantly higher than the average homeowner equity in those small towns in Georgia, right? Or these areas here in Utah. And it's very regional. You could do that in Georgia too. You could take some of the top cities in Georgia or counties in Georgia versus the smaller towns in the rural areas in Georgia, and that delta between ownership, even between the owners, the average homeowner equity in this county is going to be a lot less than the ones in this county, just because of the cost of the home. So you'll make more money too. So if you can get in and squeeze into those quality assets and quality areas, and now to your point of, that you think that those smaller homes, the builders are doing it, it's not because they know anything different about the market. Builders, homes
You don't
sell.
think so? Like, honestly, you don't think they have any like tip? You think these people don't get like any tips or anything?
Well, tips, yeah.
Or just
but
like
they
any
know,
like.
Okay, but listen, real estate sells price per square foot.
Okay.
So I have to pay a certain amount for a lot. I have to put the same amount of the sewer lines and everything else in a lot. If I go build 1,000 square foot home and my average price is $250 a foot, you know, I'm selling that home for $250,000. I still have to put on the roof. Like a lot of your systems are all the same. I still need a furnace in there. I still need a water heater. I still need kitchens. Like those rooms are not that much bigger. If I now sell that property, that same 250,000 square foot house, and I say, hey, listen, I'm going to build a 2,000 square foot home instead of a 1,000 square foot home, and I'm going to put 4 bedrooms in it, the cost of those bedrooms to frame out the bedrooms is insignificant to the kitchen, right? Each of them, I had to pay for a kitchen. Each of them, I have to pay for a roof. The one doubling the square footage is not doubling the size of my roof, most likely. I'm probably just going up 2-story instead of 1-story, for example. So I'm probably, most of my systems, I might have a little bit bigger AC, a little bit bigger furnace to push, you know, the air for the 2,000, but it's not going to be double the cost. So a lot of your baseline costs are the same, but now I can charge double the amount of money for this. So instead of selling the one for $250,000, I can sell it for $500,000. My lot costs me the same. My systems are roughly the same. The square footage that I'm adding is typically bedrooms or living rooms, and there's not a lot of there's not a bunch of fixtures and everything else. It's just walls and drywall and paint and carpet, right?
Right.
And so I've built houses before. When we make decisions on building houses, a lot of times we're like, where can we add some square footage, because we sell on price per square foot. I'd rather sell a 2,000 square foot house than a 1,000 square foot house because I make more money. My margins are better on those.
Right.
And so they're just doing it based on the economics of it.
Oh,
I
that's
don't think they're
interesting.
doing it based on
Like
trying to-
insider knowledge.
Well, I think they have plenty of insider knowledge on stuff. But I think that at the end of the day, the cost or the reason they're building bigger and bigger homes over the years is just because the economics are better, right?
That's interesting.
Because homes are selling on a price per square foot basis. Now they do. That's why you tend to see smaller homes sell for a larger price per square foot, a higher price per square foot, because you have a baseline like lot cost. You have a baseline systems cost in when you build a home out, and a lot of the square footage comes in some of these other rooms that you're just kind of expanding out. You have more material and everything in there, but you're not typically adding to the overall like systems and you know the roofing costs and everything else. It's not that much more for how much more square footage you're getting. So it's just those are economic decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's an interesting way. That's an interesting point you made there. Okay. I really don't know, man. I keep hearing stuff, you know, from other people online about it, and so I kind of just.
Here's the thing.
I'm indifferent. I really am.
I could see there's a lot of people who think they've got to come down. Prices have got to come down. I think rates are going to come down, but the minute rates come down, prices are going up.
Yeah.
And so you could build in equity right there. Right now, let's say we buy today, and in the next year we see rates come from 6 to 5. Maybe you start to hit the high 4s. All of a sudden, you're going to have a lot of people rushing into the market, and now all of a sudden that 5% appreciation goes up to 7 or 8 for a year or two. That bakes in a lot of extra savings that we're talking about. You're paying a little bit more, but you're gaining it exponentially on the back end because that net worth continues to grow. So you get closer to that 400 range of net worth instead of whatever's in the savings account. You know.
Okay, help me understand this point of the rates. If 70% of Americans are in a rate that's below 5%, and is that when you're saying fixed rate, that doesn't change? So the rate right now is like 6 point something, right? But they're locked in at that rate. Yeah. So why would people nowadays go with a rate where they can refinance? Why wouldn't they also just wait till the rates drop and then boom, lock in the fixed one?
They can't, like you can refinance anytime you want as long as you qualify for the refinance. You can refinance.
Even with the fixed rate.
Yeah, even so
wow.
You just pay for it, right? You get another loan. A refinance is essentially saying, hey, listen, I've got this mortgage out there. I'm going to call up the lender when rates drop. I'm locked in at 7%, and I'm going to call my lender when rates go to 5. And that you know, depending on the size of the house, that might save me $500-$600 a month, depending on the size of the house. And I'll call my lender and say, hey, how much is it going to cost me to refinance? They're like, it's going to be 1 point or 2 points of the loan. It's going to cost you $10,000. and it costs me $5,000, or I'm saving me $600 a month, so I'm saving $7,200 a year. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll get paid back in less than a year, and I'll fix it in at 5% instead of 7% for the rest of the time. So I just what they do is they pay off the first mortgage, and now you have a new mortgage at fixed. So it doesn't mean you're stuck there forever. I have a house that I have a 2.8% mortgage on.
Bro, that's crazy.
Right. It's like free money. Like
that's
it's
crazy.
It's nuts.
It's ridiculous.
It's $1.2 million house that I have a payment of like $2,200 a month. It's nuts.
Yeah. I think another portion of it is I guess for some reason in my mentality, I just think you should have a home when you have like kids. I guess for some reason that's always just kind of been like a staple in my head.
Well, yeah,
you're
like gonna be a family man, and you want to have some roots and put, and it's hard. So you don't want to look at a lot of those like I feel like you're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes type of a situation where you're looking at some of these things that are just a reality. Like, right? The inventory is super low. The inventory is continuing. We're just talking about the turnover rate. Buyers aren't putting homes on the market. It's a good time to negotiate deals right now. And you can, right now the delta between a fixed rate and an ARM is getting pretty good. You can go get a 5-1 ARM or a 7-1 ARM or a 10-1 ARM. And that means that you got a fixed rate for 5 years, and then it starts adjusting every year after that. But you can save. That for a long time, when rates are really low, that delta between, like, it made no sense to do an ARM because you can get a fixed rate for almost as much as an ARM. Right now, you can get your ARM is about 3/4 of a point to a point lower. So if you're getting fixed rates at 6%, you're paying like 5 to 5.25 on a lot of 5-1 ARMs and 7-1 ARMs right now. That's an incentive to say, hey, listen, I'll go fix my rate. I'm going to save some money. It's going to amortize faster. The note's going to actually pay down more. So you've got a lot of different options. And you got to watch all that stuff, and then you get in, because you can't look and say, well, based on what somebody else paid for a house, based on what they got it for, based on what the interest rates were back in the day, I'm going to wait for it to come back. The problem with that is you could be waiting forever, and that time lost, that opportunity cost lost of having that asset that was getting paid down, and let's say you wait for 3 or 4 years and before you do something, that difference is probably $100,000 in your net worth in a small period of time. Add that gain that you're getting every single year as a forced savings. You're not spending it. It's a stable asset. You're not tapping into it. And so it's kind of forcing you to save it. And then all of a sudden you sell a house and you're like, oh man, that was pretty awesome. I pulled $75,000 in a couple of years on this house. And it's like getting a bonus of $75,000 instead of, if you're renting, you're never going to get that.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, man. All right, so why?
Hey, I'm just rooting for you.
I appreciate it. No, thank you. Thank you for the education. Thank you for the motivation. I appreciate it. Why are a lot of people, didn't like the average home buyer age like jump up like 10 years or something crazy? So I mean, is it people just can't save now, or are they also like me where they go, it just doesn't even
I
seem
think it's
worth
a little.
it?
I think it's more like you. I think you're there. We're
Just
making
indifferent?
it. Yeah, we're kind of making it one. We're not talking, like, I don't think kids your age are really talking about home ownership as like when I grew up, we were like, me and my buddies were all talking about buying a house. I mean, I don't think you guys do that as much anymore. I think until you start to settle down and kids are coming out and you're like, getting a little bit older.
Now's the time.
It went from like 25 to 35.
Yeah.
The average over what period of time? I can't remember. It was over a.
I'm gonna try and find out.
Yeah, it's not super important, but it was over a period of time. It wasn't that. It was short. It was like a 10 or 15 year period.
Yeah.
Was my point. It went up almost 10 years, and I think because it's kind of socially acceptable and kind of the social norm to say, why would you ever buy? Like they're making it like almost like talking you into renting. That's where I think the insider information is. That's where I think the insider. Like you want to talk about what I think is. I think that they're conditioning people to not want to buy homes, which I think is a shame.
That's a really good point.
Go look at who's buying up a lot of single family homes. Like,
I will tell you, I saw another thing that kind of.
There's a lot of those big names, BlackRocks, Vanguards, that own a lot of single family homes, and they're the ones. I don't know if they're the ones right. I shouldn't say they're the ones writing the narrative, but there's a narrative out there that is. why would you ever buy? Just
Right.
rent. It's gonna
Exactly. That is a narrative, and I've heard the narrative. If you don't even really own that home, if you don't say you know have a parking ticket and you don't pay it, and then you don't go to court, and then you don't do it, they're going to come to you and they're going to seize that house. So do you really own that house? Is it really yours? So you go. I mean, you don't really own either of it anyway. So
Well, we started off talking about Mondami, saying,
Yeah.
if I don't like what you're doing on your rentals, I'm gonna take them. We'll see
Yeah.
how that holds up. I mean,
Yeah.
we have pretty good property ownership rights in the U.S., and it doesn't happen very often.
yeah.
You do get some of those crazy stories that you hear about, but I wouldn't use that as an excuse to sit on the sidelines.
No, just like another thing that they're kind of making you go, yeah, I guess maybe I'll.
No,
Just
I know.
let it,
I get what you're saying. The narrative is fed to make younger people believe that it's not that important to own a home.
Yeah.
That headline
Yeah.
begs to
worth.
differ.
Yeah.
Like, and that's from, that's all over. That one was from, where was that one from? Oh, that was from CNN Business,
Yeah.
but that's median renter,
Yeah.
10,400 net worth, average median net worth of a homeowner, 400,000.
400,000. Crazy. All right, man. So we're at almost an hour in.
Okay, we better cut off our last
Yeah,
topic.
yeah,
We went off a little bit on that one.